Thank you, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. We are on the home stretch, so we'll try to keep it as upbeat as possible. Now, our world is changing. It's becoming more instrumented. Powerful computing capability can now be installed just about anywhere, inexpensively, and is being embedded all over the place. RFID tags, sensors in cars, appliances, fridges, railway lines, tram cars, even baby clothes are all being interconnected through devices these days. We're becoming more interconnected with people, systems and processes in ways we never have been before. Virtually all things, processes, systems and ways of working are becoming more joined up and interconnected. And we're lastly becoming more intelligent. Information can be processed, analysed, and acted upon to derive greater knowledge and value. We can easily respond to changes more quickly and accurately, and get better results by predicting and optimising for future events. When we talk about a new intelligence, we're referring to the capture, integration, management, and utilisation of large volumes and varieties of information. A shift towards operational analytics and predictive modelling, pervasively collecting and sharing information across the entire value chain, and speeding time to value by delivering trusted, accurate, and timely information to the right decision makers at the right time. We in this room have the opportunity to help our organisations think and act in new ways, to make our businesses more efficient, productive, and responsive by harnessing all this data we have access to and transforming it into useful information, to ensure that everyone throughout the value chain has the information they need, when they need it, where they need it, and in the format that they need it in order to act upon it. That's a very important distinction. We're moving beyond models that rely on human intervention. And to make sense of all this data, we need sophisticated data management and analytics systems that turn data into intelligence at scale in an automated way. It enables us to shift from looking in the rearview mirror to figure out what happened in the past to anticipating what's going to happen in the future. Achieving this relies on an increasing volume and variety of information generated through our legacy systems, which have been in operation for 40, 50 years in some cases, as well as some of the new ones I talked about earlier. So, with that in mind, ensuring trust in your organisation's data becomes table stakes. But for many businesses, this has been and continues to be a huge challenge. To put some context around that statement, some recent studies had only 38% of respondents citing a high level of confidence in their customer insights. Furthermore, less than 33% of those trust the analytics they're generating from their business operations. Yet the vast majority say that analytics and insights are critical to their business decision making. So let's just stop and pause while we consider that. What we're saying is that we know insights are critical to our business, but the vast majority of us don't trust the information we're getting to give us what we need to have confidence in our decisions. Fortunately, we're crossing a new threshold in our ability to capture, process, forecast and analyse fundamentally new and deeper ways. Instead of looking at isolated data points or working off intuition and past experience, we're able to operate with a new clarity based on single views of data that are aggregated from multiple sources. By integrating data sources, we're able to see a more fully rendered picture, including the consequences of any business decision. So decisions aren't just faster, they're more predictive and more prescriptive. As some examples of this, we're seeing shifts in things like reactive public safety to proactive crime prevention, or disease monitoring and management moving into epidemic prediction and prevention, I should say. The new reality of the world we're living in is that if we're responding to something, we might already be too late. The impact of this paradigm can be life-changing in some cases. As an example, oncologists at the Stanford School of Medicine are pioneering new ways to assess the effectiveness of chemo that uses Fitbits to monitor the patient responses to the treatment. This replaces a decades-old framework of questions and visual observations to determine how well their patients are responding. This is huge, not only in terms of better patient outcomes, but it also reduces care costs because they're also able to identify which patients aren't responding to chemo as well and can quickly pivot towards alternative treatment. So moving into this new paradigm gives us tremendous freedom to innovate. However, it doesn't come without its challenges. some new and some that we've been dealing with for years and years and years. New data sources are vastly expanding our ability to monitor and measure things happening in real time. Enterprises are handling more information than ever before, but to be real, most of us aren't keeping up with it. Not enough of this information, and certainly not enough of the information that we're capturing in real time, is being managed, analysed and made easily available to people who need to act on it. So when we create data-driven cultures that leverage information effectively, we have a great opportunity to transform our existing business models, or even create new ones. Think Uber. So how do you get ahead of the data tsunami and get to the point where you're delivering this kind of value? Companies that have successfully cultivated data-driven cultures reap multiple benefits, including better employee engagement, increased accuracy in decision-making, and a commitment across all the businesses to back up ideas with data. But cultivating this culture can be an obstacle for most companies, and with good reason. So what are the keys to unlocking the value of our enterprise data? Adoption of analytics in most organisations is hovering about 30% of the addressable market. Organisations that are truly data-driven have adoption somewhere between 50 and 100%. It's clear that most of us still have some work to do. We believe there are three key pillars in creating data-driven cultures within your organisation. The first pillar, and Toby mentioned it in his AI presentation earlier, the first pillar is to create a trusted information foundation within your organisation. We need to get better at managing the explosive volume and variety of historical and real-time data that we're capturing. But these are not simply analytical concerns. They also drive operational efficiencies and they aid regulatory compliance. Think of the impact of a bad address on your organisations today. The second pillar is to increase utilisation and adoption of analytics. Over the past 10 years, we've seen a proliferation of tools and competitors come into the market with the expectation that they're going to increase adoption rates. But this hasn't had the impact that most of us have predicted. So how do we improve it? The third pillar is to start innovating with analytics in your organisation. We're increasingly seeing businesses begin to leverage data as competitive differentiators. Progressive organisations are now moving beyond the traditional efficiency gains delivered by data and analytics, and are recognising that data innovation can be a cornerstone of business transformation initiatives. So let's dive a little deeper into those three pillars. So while investments in analytics are booming, everyone's doing it, many companies aren't seeing the ROI they expect. Eliminating siloed, duplicate or inconsistent data sets that hinder business performance is still a huge challenge for most businesses today who fail to address the underlying data quality and integration issues. The result is inaccurate data that everybody challenges and no one trusts. Assessments of the impact of poor data quality suggest the average costs to Australian businesses is $14 million per annum. That's just the average. Throwing people at this problem doesn't stack up anymore. Only when you have a trusted view of data can you create confidence. And when you do, you can begin to accelerate critical business initiatives front of mind for our business leaders. We're talking about big C change projects like process automation, digital transformation, mergers and acquisitions, customer experience. All of these should start with a data-first strategy. We often see companies taking a one-size-fits-all approach to BI and analytics struggle to gain high adoption rates. For us, it's important to know not only who your users are and what requirements they have, but to recognise what their role and skill set in the business is. For example, executives and management love their dashboards with KPIs, but from an analytic adoption perspective, that only addresses about 10% of the population. We've got our data scientists, business analysts, power business users, loving their visualisation, loving their data discovery tools, but again, the proportion of these people is even lower. It's only about 5%. The other 85% are consumers, casual users like me, who benefit from having a really powerful, flexible and highly parameterised BI app, offering fast, easy access to the relevant information that someone like me needs that's actionable, and I don't need to understand the complexity of the underlying analytics and data. At a technology level, however, here's where we're seeing increasing adoption in analytics across different companies. Mobile solutions consistently provide higher adoption rates over those that don't support them. Embedding analytics into tools we already use, like web portals, applications like Salesforce.com, Sage, SAP, those kind of things, allow us to deploy enterprise-grade analytics to us casual users at scale. We're talking thousands, millions of users in some cases. Natural language processing gives us the ability to ask Google, Siri, or Alexa for answers to data questions instead of running to the BI team or the analytics team each time we have a new question. Users now expect a modern, intuitive, and ergonomic user experience, similar to what we've become used to with the apps we use on a day-to-day basis. Lastly, ensuring that you have an analytics platform that scales across your enterprise and has the flexibility to satisfy the demands of all of those different user types we talked about. But don't just think about scale in terms of within the firewall. Scaling your analytic investment outside of your firewall as well can deliver great benefits to customers, partners, and suppliers. It's a great way to enhance your customer experience, and it's also a great way to increase your analytics adoption. There are three main ways we're seeing data innovation disrupt markets and enable digital transformation. The most obvious way to make more money from your data is to sell it. But there are plenty of other ways you can use your information to generate revenue without selling it. Tapping into your CRM, help desk, and other systems helps you to maximize loyalty and retention. Understanding buyer wants and behaviors increases the effectiveness not only of merchandising, but also can help you develop more targeted and personalized campaigns and promotions. Customer-facing analytics is a big area where we're playing today. It lets companies increase their competitive edge by enhancing the customer experience, increasing loyalty and retention, reducing service and support costs, and even opening up new revenue streams for your organisations by offering value-added, fee-based information services. The ability for a customer to interact with their own data is extremely powerful. Lastly, we're seeing a lot of momentum in the number of organisations using real-time sensor data for a range of scenarios. However, what we've seen in the market is that a lot of these initiatives begin and end with the aggregated sensor data. The healthcare example I mentioned earlier highlights how sensory data can be combined with historical data locked up in a legacy system to provide those better patient outcomes and reduce the costs of care. We believe the next wave of IoT investment isn't going to come from more devices. It's going to be determined by what additional information we have that we can leverage from our existing systems to enrich the data we're collecting from those devices to provide those better outcomes. So I'd ask you all to think about what some of those use cases are in your organisations today. We do recognise that having worked with thousands of customers across the world, the challenge of managing information is more about technology, more than just technology, software and tools. So we've brought our expertise to bear in developing a range of best practices and consulting services that we use to engage collaboratively with our customers, prospects and partners to ensure they understand the value that they'll get from any project. We call it our collaborative methodology. It's been developed based on more than 42 years of experience working with thousands of clients. And it's a proven way to ensure that our customers are successful in achieving their analytics goals. Some great examples of this in collaborative partnerships that we've worked in all across the globe are visible through some of the industry solutions that we now provide across different analytics disciplines. Things like operational policing, things like visual warehouse management, and predictive fleet maintenance are just a few of those examples where having that trusted data foundation and combining this with innovative and outcome-driven thinking results in better customer outcomes, higher revenues and reduced costs, not to mention an increased appetite for analytics across your business. Supported by strong leadership, this is the true hallmark of any data-driven enterprise. Thank you very much.